Hello, this is Matthew with Simplilearn, and today we're going to be exploring how Node.js can be used to connect to a Mongo database. So what we're going to do is, so what's in it for you? So in this presentation, we're going to go through three key things. What is MongoDB? How do you connect to MongoDB with Node.js? And MongoDB is part of the MERN Stack. So we're going to cover what the MERN Stack is and how it applies to Node.js. So what is MongoDB? So MongoDB is probably the most popular NoSQL database out there. It's cross-platform and very easy to scale. It's available on all cloud systems. You can also run it locally, which is what we'll be doing later on in our demo. But it's just a very flexible database environment for modern applications. It works on the concept of collection and documents. What you'll find is MongoDB was originally written in C++, and it is what's referred to as a NoSQL database. So this is different to a relational database, which is built up of tables with rows and columns. This is a NoSQL database, simply a lot faster and more powerful for the work that you're doing. And you're able to use MongoDB very easily. You can actually go ahead and download it. We'll actually do that as part of our demo. So, why connect Node.js with MongoDB? Well, the reason why you want to do this is that MongoDB is a modern database. It's not restricted by the challenges of scalability that older relational databases have. It's really designed for building mobile applications and websites that scale into the millions and millions of users. So MongoDB, probably the most important feature is scalability. The performance of the database is phenomenal. And it is extremely highly available for the solutions that you'll be creating. So when you push it out your solution to the cloud, you can almost guarantee it's always going to be running. You also have the ability to be able to scale to very large, complex, multi-site solutions. In fact, one of the very first MongoDB applications I built was a multi-tenant environment, and it just worked really well. And you'll be able to easily deploy your solutions across Microsoft Azure, AWS, Google Cloud, etc. So, why do you want to keep connecting to MongoDB? I think probably one of the other areas that probably is often forgotten with Mongo is just the concept around big data. And when you talk about big data, you're talking about absolutely massive databases, and MongoDB is front and center for all of that. You can do your effective content management and delivery. It has an effective mobile and social infrastructure. So by that, it allows you to be able to build out solutions that can go to all modern day types of applications. And the data is actually very easy to manage through your central data hub. And then finally, being able to connect to MongoDB is very easy, particularly as there is a client called Mongoose that makes the connection extremely easy. So, finally, let's kind of look into how MongoDB is part of the MERN Stack. So MERN Stack is a JavaScript stack, and it's of JavaScript solutions that are built for modern single-page applications. And there are four key solutions in the MERN Stack. There's MongoDB, which is your database; Express, which is your server-side HTTP environment; React, which is the solution for being able to create your solutions on the client; and then Node.js, which actually manages the whole environment. It's really an environment that's designed to make it very easy to be able to build out modern-day solutions. So MongoDB is the M in MERN, Express is the E, React is the R, and Node.js is the N. So again, as you start working with some of our other videos that we have here, you'll be able to see how all of these tools really complement each other. So we've done an introduction on MongoDB. really the best thing now is to get your hands dirty by actually doing a demo. So we're going to actually go through a demo. What I would strongly encourage you, however, though, is that this demo really does build on a lot of the other videos that we've done in this series. You really do want to spend some time on the Node.js video, the Node.js for Express video, the Node.js for APIs video. Really, all of those videos help complement the work that you'll be doing with this video here. You'll see some real strong correlations, plus a lot of new content as well. So with that, we're going to jump into the demo. So let's do our demonstration on how to use MongoDB with Node.js. First thing we want to do is go ahead and install Node.js. So you're going to go and do Google search Node.js, and that should bring up a result of going to nodejs.org. And here you can download Node.js for multiple platforms. So Windows, Linux, Mac OS, they're all supported. You can also get the original source code and recompile your version of Node.js if you want to. We're just going to install the Windows version. And the next thing you want to do is install your favorite text editor. I'm going to install Visual Studio Code, VS Code. It runs on all leading platforms, Mac OS, Windows, and Linux. It is open source. You can edit it. I like it because you can do an awful lot with it. Just a lot of extensions. It's just a great tool all around. So that's the next thing you want to install. And then we want to go ahead and we want to go to mongodb.com so we can install the MongoDB database. So you want to go to Software, Community Server, and you want to then select the MongoDB Community Server, which platform you want, and where it's going to connect with, and you want to select the download to install that, and that'll take a moment or two for you to download and get that up and running. Once you've done that, we want to go ahead and we're going to open up VS Code so we can start editing and the code that we need for our new solution. So let's go ahead and create a folder off our desktop that we'll use for MongoDB. So I already have a folder created called demo. I'm just going to select that. And then inside of there, I'm going to put in Node MongoDB and select that folder. And that's going to open up VS Code. It's going to have our folder in here. So we're going to get rid of the welcome screen. We don't need that. We do want to, however, open up our terminal window. So we're going to run that. That's one of the things that I really like about VS Code is you can actually have your terminal window or command line window actually inside the development environment you're working in. So you don't have to be jumping from one solution to another. And then we're going to initialize our package. So npm init for the folder that we're in. It's going to create our Node package manager. It's going to create our default package. And we're going to hit return. That's going to go ahead and start the process. And we're just going to go with the default settings that npm is going to give. So just hit return, return, return a few times, and that'll get up and running for you. And our entry point for the application is going to be index.js. Yeah, that's our JS package, and there we have everything. This is just the JSON package that provides the instructions that npm would use to pass the program. Now you notice that we have index.js as our leading file, so we actually have to add a new file here, and we're just going to call this one index.js. So we actually have a file that can be referenced. And now we're going to go ahead and we're going to actually put in our default application. So Express is going to be required. So we're going to make sure that that is included in our first line of our instructions. And then we're also going to have a path that's required. And we're going to require handlebars. And these are all part of our Express environment. And don't forget to save your file as you're going along. And we're also going to have Express PHBS. And this is going to be our Express handlebars. And we're all going to allow insecure prototype access. You wouldn't normally do this, but because we're running everything locally, it just makes it easier for you to actually get all the code in. And then we're also going to add in our body parser. And these are all the required solutions that we need to be installed when you're running this package. And so let's save the file and then let's go ahead and run it. So we're going to do npm install, and we do --save, and this will install Express. And we're also going to have an install path, handlebars, Express handlebars, and this is where we'll install prototyping. And we'll also have the body parser installed, and we're just going to run that. This will just take a moment or two to install. All right, there we go. So we have everything installed, which allows us to now start working with our scripts. So we're going to create an app in Express. And we're going to listen on port 3000. And we're going to have a message, then go to our console log. And we have everything running off our local port on localhost on port 3000. So let's go, and we're going to select node index.js, and it shows us everything's running, which is good. We can actually test this in our web browser if we wanted to. Okay, so let's start working on our app. So our app is going to use body parser. And we're going to encode our request. And the goal here is we're going to create a file that's going to go back and forth to to MongoDB. So body parser is going to use JSON to encrypt the content. And we're going to do a get command to get our results. And if you've seen the API video, then we did that here. In fact, it's probably a good idea to actually sit down and look through some of the other videos that we've created, such as the Node.js for Express, Node.js for APIs, and Node.js for authentication. Before doing this video, we're going to create a default page, and it's going to say, welcome to the students database. The principles that we're putting down here, you'll be able to apply to any solution that you're creating with MongoDB. So we want to have a simple action that we're going to put on here, which is going to be click to gain access. Okay, we're going to put in the path and where to get the list from. Okay. All right. So here is our basic web page that we're creating. Nothing fancy, but it's going to take you to a place where you can actually get all the content. Now, what we're going to do is we're actually going to go and pull the content from Mongo. So run this, and we can open up a web browser. You'll see what it looks like. So let's go to localhost. Close out these other tabs, don't need them. Localhost 3000. And there we see, welcome to the student database. Click on the database. And you click on, if you clicked on it now, nothing will happen. So, yep, nothing there. So let's make something happen. Okay. All right, so let's begin extending our app. So what we're going to do is we want to set the views. And we're going to do a join on our directory name. And app engine. So let's go for our views. We don't have an app engine yet, but let's go ahead and create a new folder. We can call that one views, and let's expand that. Actually, that should be okay. HPS. Express handlebars. And we're going to allow prototype access for our express handlebars. So with Express Handlebars, if this is new to you, it allows you to separate your content from your layout, which if you have developed with Swift for a mobile application on the Mac using Xcode, it's the same principle there, but for a web application. So we're just putting out here some of our default environment settings. And we're going to set our view engine for handlebars. And just checking through our code. It's looking good. Okay, so that provides that. So let's create a new folder under our views, and this one we're going to call layouts. So again, this is where we are splitting our layouts. And we're going to have a folder called models at the root of our application, and under models we're going to put in db.js. So the db.js file is going to be where we put our instructions for our database. And so here we're going to go ahead and we're going to require to import Mongoose. And Mongoose is a tool in Node.js that allows you to connect to MongoDB. So we're going to require the use of Mongoose. And so we're going to do npm install -save mongoose. And that's going to run and install on our local machine. So we can actually test this out. And once we've got this installed, what we're going to do is we're going to start connecting to a database that we're going to call StudentDB. Okay, we're already installed. So let's go mongoose.connect. And we're going to call it MongoDB. And we're going to run this off our local host So we installed the community version that allows us to run our local host, and it's going to run from the port 27017, and we're going to call this one StudentDB. So again, with our application, we're splitting out all the functionality. So if you want to reuse elements, you can. So we're going to have a user URL parser. And we'll make sure we capture everything correctly. Okay, so if error, then we'll send a message to the console log. And we have either connection is successful, or if things go wrong, error in connection. And then if there is an error, then what we'll do is we'll have the error message posted. Okay. And then we're going to do require student.model. So this will actually pull the model we're going to create. And so what we need to do now is create under models, we're going to create student.model.js. And this is where we're going to do our instructions for our student model. So first thing we want to do is we want to import Mongoose, Express, and the student model. So we've got to let's make sure we have everything. Let's capture that. So let's go over to our student model. All right, so let's make sure that we have everything. So we want to have Mongoose. And we're going to create a new variable called student schema. This will allow us to structure what our model will look like. And this will be a new schema in using Mongoose. And our new schema is going to be full name. And we're going to break down our JSON package. So we're going to put in the instructions for what the schema would look like. So we have the type, we have required, this field is required. And the second value is going to be email. Type string. This field is required. That's the message, error message you want to send if the field isn't filled out. Mobile phone number, this will be just a number. And we're going to have city, and the subtype will be, let's just make this a string. We're just going to try and keep this simple for right now. And this field is required. All right, so here's our schema. Looking pretty good. All right, mongoose.model, and connect this to our student model. So we want to go ahead and save that. Okay. Okay, a new folder, and this new folder is going to be called controllers. And we have a new file under controllers. And that new file is going to be called student controller Nodejs.js. Let's go in and see what we're going to add here. So we want to import, make sure that we're running Express. So Express is required for our controller. We also want to set up a variable for router. So router express.router. And we want to make sure we're also connecting with Mongoose. So we have a connection to MongoDB. And we also want to make sure that we have connection to our student model. So mongoose.model and our student model. And this allows us to make sure that we have this student model pulled over effectively for our controller, for our student controller. Okay, so let's go to router, get, I'm going to render this. And student/add or edit. We'll come into that in just a moment. So we want to be able to view title, and this will pull in the insert student. And we're going to use, under our views, we're going to create a new folder. And this one's going to be called student. And we're going to create a new file. And this one will be add or edit.js. Oh, HPS, sorry, for our handlebar. So you notice we don't have to put the file extension. Node.js manages all that for us. So router.post. So this will be we're going to get our content, and then we're also going to post content. So the post will go back as part of our body, and there'll be an ID. So we want to then insert the record that we'll be creating. So again, if you've worked through the Node.js API video, then you'll start seeing that there's some commonalities here of being able to insert or update a record. And we actually cover that using just a sample JSON package. This really takes it to that next level. Okay, so we want to put in a new student record, and so be student, and we're going to have their full name is going to come from our body. And we're going to also capture the email. Essentially, we're going to follow the model that we created. And our mobile phone. Finally, with a student city. And then we want to save the record that we create. Okay. All right, so we're going to manage our error message. And we're going to put in similar messages that we've put in before. So we want to redirect to our student list. And we're going to go ahead and create that in a moment. So let's create a new file, student list.hps. So list.hps. And here, so what we do is with student list, that's actually going to manage then the controls for being able to display the records in the database. And then we'll put our message. If there's an error, then we'll put an error message there and ask it to report the error message. We're going to try and not do that. All right, so now the next step we need to go through is we want to call a function to update the record. And let's go ahead and we're going to update the records. And we do the student.find1 and update command. Okay. Okay, so we will redirect to our student list as needed. If not, we'll throw an error message to our console log. Yeah, looking good. And again, this is just an example, but something that you'll be able to do yourself with your own solution. And then we want to go back to our list to then render the records. All right. And here we want to put student, and then how we're going to find the record. We'll throw a error message to our console log. So as you can see, we always throw an error message to the console log. Error messages are really useful. Okay. All right, looks good. Save that. Okay, let's do another router, and this is to, we're going to do the router against ID. This will allow us to get the content. So we'll be able to get the information by ID of the student. And what you can see is there's a lot of the work we're doing here is very repetitive, and you'll find as you create more modular code that it makes it easier for you to write your code and update and manage your code. Okay, so we're going to get our view title. We're going to put that into our document. Okay. All right, so our next router is we want to be able to delete a record by ID. And so what we're going to do is we're going to find our records, our student record, and we're going to find it by ID. And then we're going to do find ID and remove. Okay, so we're going to once we've removed a record, we're going to redirect to our list so we can show our student list. Otherwise, we'll send an error message to our console log. Okay, so I think we have what we need. Maybe there's one more thing. Oh, I think we need to. I think this is good. Okay, so let's go to our layouts, add a new file there. We're going to call this one main layout.hbs. And here we're going to put the skeleton of our web page together. Let's write this out. So we're going to put in our HTML code. And we're just going to keep this real simple. And our header, we want a title, and this is going to be students database. Oh, maybe we'll just call it students. So we now go to, we're going to try and find out Bootstrap 4. We're going to just grab that, and we're going to use Bootstrap to get started. And there are a couple of components. There's the CSS component, and then there's the JavaScript component. So let's just go copy the CSS component. And then we're going to just link that into the header section of our web page. So, and then here's an example of different components you can create. If you haven't used Bootstrap before, it's an open source framework originally developed by Twitter. Great tool. So here in our header, we want to put in the link to the CSS. There's that. And now we'll need to also put in our own styles. So we've got here some styles that we created earlier on for the work that we're doing. You can just paste those in. So we have a box style that we want to use that will extend the box style that you get with Bootstrap. All right, so we're going to start working on our body content. Class bg info. So this is actually bg info is a CSS class file from Bootstrap that you can use. And you're going to have the ID of box. And again, we're going to do another class. This allows us for our table structure. So a little bit of knowledge of Bootstrap is great here. So what we're going to do now is we're going to put in the content, which we're going to call body, and this will show up on the screen. So again, we're pulling from records within Bootstrap. Dig through Bootstrap, there's lots of content there for you to be able to take advantage of. Okay. So now we want to be able to add or edit a record. View title. And the French brackets allow you to be able to pull records and content directly from the code that we're writing. So we're pulling title from insert record, and that's part of our router command. And then we'll put in our form. Which will be student post. I'm just going to do a basic form here, nothing fancy. And we will put in the first record will be a hidden field. And this will be for ID. So we want to generate the ID. We don't want to have somebody put that in. And then we will put in our form elements. So we'll have, first will be a label, that'll be full name, and there'll be an input field. So it'll be text in the input field. And again, we're using form-control, which is from Bootstrap CSS. And then we'll have the full name and placeholder will be full name. So where we have name there will actually match up with the value that we're putting in our model. So here we have student full name. So we're matching everything up to the model that we created. Okay, so let's do this for our remaining form elements. And again, as you see, we can put this together really quickly. So we're going to put in form, this one will be email, and then we'll do mobile and city. And here we keep going. Put in form group. And we'll be able to have the type of tool for putting in mobile. So as you can see, because we're using just standard HTML here, you can actually reference external libraries such as JavaScript libraries for formatting the field that you're in, regular expressions, things like that. And let's put in our final value, which will be for city. And normally when I'd be writing this by hand, I would actually be copying and pasting sections of code and just changing the values as necessary, just to make it easier on myself. But here I'm just typing out everything for you so you can see the whole process. Okay. All right, so there are our values. Of course, remember, save your files as you're going along. Everything looks good. And we're matching up our values with our records. And we want to have a button that allows you to submit. We also want to have a button to select view all if you want to be able to view all of the records. Okay. Looking good. Okay, let's go back over to list. Now we want to be able to pull our records. So this will display the list of students in a table. Right. Let's go ahead and format that table. So we're going to put together our format here, but then we're also going to add buttons at the bottom so we can actually add a record to the database, or if we want to add or delete a particular record from the database. I'm going to call this one create a new student record for our student list. I'm just going to type all this in for you. And you'll see how we put placeholders for the values as we put them in. These are our table headers. Okay. Putting our body content. And what we're going to do here is we're going to add in an element that allows you to create a row for each item listed. So if you have 2 or more items, they'll appear as an individual row on here. And again, what we're doing is we're pulling in the values to be able to pull from the model that we created earlier on. So this being the data that's been submitted. So we're going to have it pull in the value for the email, full name, and mobile and city. We're not going to show ID So it's pulling out all of this data that we created earlier on. So we have everything posted into our list as documents. So let's go into a HBS file, and it's our list. Let's put in our file entry here. This will be for city. Then this is just a placeholder at the end of the list. Oh yeah, what we're going to do is we can add in reference for the ID. So if we want to edit the document, we can. And then we want to do the same thing if we want to delete the document. So href equals student, and then just delete. Now delete based on the ID. There we go. Passing that instruction over. So click, turn, simple. I'm going to ask them, are you sure you want to delete? If somebody clicks on the record, they hit cancel, then it won't get deleted. If they hit OK, then it will get deleted. This is why you can actually write JS inline. Okay. And then we want to close out where the row will end. So have each opens and closes the record. Just tidying up some of the HTML there. Save that. Okay, looking good. Back to our root index file. So let's see now. We want to also require our model, and then we'll have our student controller also be a require, and where it's going to pull the student controller from. Okay. And this is just the instructions on where we can actually find content. Okay, looks good. So let's do node index.js. Everything's saved. I'm going to rerun everything. And we got an error. Let's go check out where our error came from. So let's go into our files. This is one that we created. So error is in student controller. Let's see, where's the error? Oh, we need to have our module. We need to export our module to our router. All right, let's go open up Mongo database. And we can start seeing where the records are. It's just installing the latest updates here. So we need to go ahead and put in our connection string. So it's on localhost, and that's the port. Let's just double check that, make sure we're completely aligned. So here's our database connection, and there's our port and student database. And we did this with Mongoose for connecting to Mongo. So I'm going to connect, and here are where our records are being stored. So we're going to create a database, and we're going to call this database. It's going to be called StudentDB. So StudentDB has to be case sensitive. And the collection name is students. Let's go ahead and create a database. So there we are, there's our database. And let's go rerun our index.js file. And everything was successful. This is good. All right. So everything should have passed successfully. Good, good, good. Database connection is good. So let's go to localhost. And here we are. So we can start actually navigating through our application. So we see we have our setup. We have no records. So let's go ahead and create one. And we go through, you can actually start stepping through the different layouts that you've created. So here's our layouts, they're separate to our code. So there's some spacing we probably need to add there. So let's go ahead and just add that. And let's rerun our code. This is the fun bits where everything is just tidying up. Okay, so it puts in one space because we didn't put in the actual HTML code for creating multiple spaces. So we're going to go in and select insert. So let's put in Smith, and we'll do smith@gmail.com. And let's just put in, random phone number. There we go. We don't have any formatting, so we could put anything in there. And the city, where am I? I'm in Delhi, so submit that. Hit submit, and it takes us to a list, and voila, we actually have a list with a record in. And if we go back to our database, we can actually refresh it, and now we actually start seeing our records being created. And we see the ID is automatically created, and there's our records. Okay, let's go back. And now we can select edit. We can edit the record. So let's change our city to Bangalore. We'll hit submit. All right, city is now Bangalore. And if we want to, we can edit again. And so this is pulling in, if we do a delete, it's going to ask us, do we really want to delete? Okay. A little bit of formatting applied there. And the records are all good, so we can make that Smith Jones. But because we need to hit submit, we wouldn't update the record. So we hit submit, it updates the record. We hit delete, it's going to say, are you sure? We say, yes, we are. And, couldn't grab that record. Okay, so let's go back and look at our code. And because we have everything separated, we can actually now just go to our student controller, and we'll find our delete. There goes delete. And we had a couple of minor errors there. This is where it's good to test out your code. Okay, let's run that again. And refresh everything. So we go to our database. We're going to go create a new entry. Let's call this one john@gmail.com. We'll put in a phone number. You see the formatting is just playing from our Bootstrap. So there we have, there's John. Do we want to delete? Let's say yes. Ba-boom! Yeah, easy. There we've got it all solved. And we hit refresh, the record should be gone. Yep, it is. And so we've created an application where we can update applications. We can create an application, we can list all the items. And we did all of this using just open source solutions through Node.js. And that was with using Express, some of the components that come with Express, MongoDB for our database, and then Mongoose to connect to our database. Well, hopefully you learned some great stuff on how to work with MongoDB. It's an incredibly powerful tool. And inside of an hour, you should have learned how you can actually build out your own application with MongoDB and create a world-class application. If you have any questions, please post those in the comments below. We do read and reply to those comments. We're just always interested in understanding what your questions are and what you're building with the solutions that we're recommending. If you like this content, please consider subscribing, and then you'll be able to get access to more content that we create. And if you really like this content, hit the like button, because that will help our videos show up and we'll be able to share the knowledge that you've learned here with other people. So from Simplilearn, have a great day.
Hi there, if you like this video, subscribe to the Simplilearn YouTube channel and click here to watch similar videos. To nerd up and get certified, click here.